It's Tuesday, October the 15th. That's right. We're halfway through the month of October and just a little less than 3 weeks away from the election. So there's a lot of things going on in the world, and I'm sure people are paying attention to a number of things that are taking place, and we're going to be talking about them. I see that I've got Jim Mead with me, along with one of the founders of the network, which of course is Kim Calhoun, and we'll see if others join us as well. But let me tell you about a couple of things going on in the world, and I'll bring them in and see what they've got on their mind and all along those lines. But Canada and India expelled diplomats over the killing of a Sikh activist. So that is something that we are seeing in the news as Canada expels Indian diplomats over accusations of threatening violent acts and murder. So that is something that is going on in that part of the world. And Israel kills at least 50 in Gaza. Tanks deepen raid into the north. So deadly Israeli airstrikes target hospital complex where thousands were sheltering. So that is something else that we see in the news as well. And after 67 days adrift at sea, a man is found alive in a tiny boat next to the bodies of his brother and some other folks as well. So a Russian man survives 2 months adrift on a dinghy. So that is definitely something that is he should be commended for. But sorry about the sadness of the loss of the life and all along those lines. And nearly 2 million malnutrition children could die amid a shortage of therapeutic food. So that is something that UNICEF is reporting, and I do know that Jim is involved in humanitarian efforts as well as other things. So I'm sure we might talk about that as well. And Israel won't impose starvation plan in Gaza. Defense minister tells the United States. So definitely that is something else that is being reported in the news as well. And Lebanon's hospitals buckle amid Israel's offensive against Hezbollah. So definitely that's something else that we're seeing also. And Ukraine is amping up drone production to get an edge in the war against Russia. So artificial intelligence is raising Ukrainian drone kill rate to 80%. So the drone war over Ukraine is a high-speed technology arms race. So that is something else that it might be talked about as well. And there was even a drone attack on Israel, which puts the spotlight on the Iron Dome's limitations. Not so much the strength of the Iron Dome, because I know on one of our other shows, Jonathan Lockwood often talks about the strength of the Iron Dome and all along those lines. And UN peacekeepers in Lebanon pledged not to give in to Israeli demands to get out of harm's way and all along those lines. So Italy's Meloni plans a Lebanon visit and seeks security guarantees for the troops. So that is something else that is going on. And China holds war games encircling Taiwan in a warning to island leaders. So Chinese war games surrounded Taiwan with warships and aircraft. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news as well. Let me get to some of the U.S. news, and then I'll bring in my fellow panelists and see what they've got to say about a number of these stories. Harris blasts Trump's enemy from within comments at a Pennsylvania rally. So Harris is warning that an unhinged Trump is out for total power, and apparently she sees the path to victory in Pennsylvania running through the suburbs. So that is something that NBC is reporting as well. So we'll see if that's how it plays out. And it looks like 2 men were shot during a Pennsylvania assassination attempt on Trump, according to what is being said by the Secret Service. So 2 men who were wounded when a gunman opened fire on Trump at a rally say Secret Service failed them. So definitely looks like there are some more things that are going on in that space as well. So definitely a lot of folks are looking at things in that space. The Butler rally shooting survivors blamed the Trump assassination attempt on the Secret Service, calling it a rush job. So this is all from the past shooting and all along those lines. So reported threats forced FEMA to pause some aid operations in North Carolina. So armed militias are hunting FEMA workers in hurricane-ravaged North Carolina, according to some reports out there as well. So a man was arrested over an alleged violent threat against the FEMA staff in North Carolina. So definitely FEMA is finding some resistance in that part of the world. And the survivors and relatives of the dead in Lewiston, Maine mass shooting are claiming that the U.S. Military negligence. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about. So they are threatening to sue the Army and the Defense Department. So they have taken legal action. So that is something else that is going on as well. And definitely, it looks like Trump sways and bops to music for 39 minutes in a town hall episode that he was having. And definitely, that's something that is going on as well as Trump played music for supporters after a medical emergencies cut some of the things in that particular area and all along those lines. And if you want a cute story, giant pandas will be arriving at DC's National Zoo this week. So, two new giant pandas are arriving in Washington, D.C. today. So, pandas in China are prepping for the move to the Washington Zoo. So it looks like very shortly there'll be some of those cute pandas coming to our area and all along those lines. So, like I said, there's a lot of things going on in the world. I'm going to get to those stories as I bring in Rick Rosner and Jim Eads, so two of our folks from California. I've also got Steve Rouse, so Steve isn't oftentimes here, so I might get to Steve first and everything. But Steve, anything you want to add to introduction?
Yeah, I've got to leave in. Well, I have to leave in 2 minutes. I've got a tight day today. Sorry, I'm underdressed. But yeah, no, not much. Just within the world news, there's been some issues going on with India and Canada with diplomats. Remember, there was that assassination of I think of there was an assassination attempt in Canada that they blamed India for that, or India blamed them for that. Um, and then there's been some continued attacks from Israel. 40 Palestinians dead, so the war continues. And as we look at politics, I'm starting to now get concerned about Kamala Harris in North Carolina. So she seems to have lost some momentum over the last few weeks, and concerns now that Trump's picking back up steam. And of course, if he wins North Carolina, then I think it's going to be very hard for her to win the White House. So unfortunately, it could be a repeat of 2016, where she wins the popular vote and he wins the electoral. But I think it's going to come down to these 5 swing states. But I get stressed thinking about what another 4 years of Donald Trump would be. But I think we have to be prepared for it. I think the convention bump swing that she had is losing ground fast. So I can't believe we're at this point. But I mean, what I'm saying is I think he can win.
I
So
hear you, but like I said earlier, before you got here, or before, you might have been even here when I was talking about it, there are some folks that are thinking she's looking at the suburbs as a way to win in Pennsylvania. Maybe that's what she's looking at
yeah.
here as well. And then he has had
But
some
but but
interesting.
let me tell you, I'll end with this before I leave. Where she's really not doing well, which is concerning me, she's performing very poorly with black men. Okay, which is not good,
Not
and
true.
she's not performing as well with young voters. So unlike Obama, who did very well in those two areas as the first black president, right? So you got to really wonder about, and I don't see as much excitement here on the ground as I did in 2008 with Obama, with young voters and black voters.
Well,
That's my concern.
yeah, and I'll be interested to see what happens. I think I mentioned yesterday that there is a dance organization that I am somewhat part of and everything called Daybreakers, and they're doing a Get Out to the Pole event on Thursday, so the day after tomorrow at Durham Central Park, and I'll see if I see a number of young folks there and all along those lines. And I think that some of my friends have said that they are doing campaign events with some of the college kids at like North Carolina Central University, Duke, and places like that. So we'll see if they are able to mobilize and everything. But I was just wondering, is there any concern on the other side from what folks are hearing? And I know that most of us aren't on that other side that are here right now and everything about some of the behavior and things that have been going on with the Trump campaign. Because like I said, Trump has even misspoken. I was watching one video where he totally butchered Arizona's name and came up with some weird name for it and everything. And then he's done some other things that are maybe concerning people about where he is in terms of his own acuity and all along those lines. But I just wanted for those that are watching, any thoughts around that, and if there's been any things that they have heard as well. And I see Shaquille's joining us, so I don't know if there's any thoughts around that from either side, just because I saw some of those things recently.
So President Vance is trending on Twitter, meaning that Trump's weird glitches are so like indicative of something messed up that a lot of people think that he won't last out his term if he gets elected. I mean, a 39-minute dance break in the middle of a rally is just, I don't know, kind of unprecedented in, I don't
Yeah, I got
know.
to run, guys. I'll be back tomorrow longer. But thank you so
Sorry.
much, and it's great to see you. Shaquille.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Shaquille, what's your take on that? You're watching
Yeah,
these.
what's your take? I want to hear Shaquille's take.
Look, I think Democrats are in a difficult position here, right? Because all of the criticism that they're going to throw at Trump, even if it's valid, is just not going to land because the Democrats have spent the last almost 4 years saying that there was nothing wrong with Biden. So then for them to immediately turn around and say, but look at Trump, he's really old. It's like, come on now. You know, you guys have been saying there's nothing wrong with Biden all these years. The other thing that Kamala Harris, and one of the reasons I think that Kamala Harris is going to have such a difficult time with men is not because of sexism as such. It's because you've been throwing men under the bus for the last not just the last 4 years, the last decade, where men are, it's toxic masculinity and men are terrible and men are this and men are that. And then all of a sudden, we're supposed to go, hey, look at the vibes. I mean, it's not working. And I have to say, people like myself, right? I'm not American, so I'm looking at it from the outside in. Although, admittedly, I'm clearly quite biased. I'm clearly, slanted. I don't mean to be, but I am, right? But that's how I view it, and that's how I hear a lot of American friends of mine that are viewing it that are saying, look, we've been telling them, look, we need to hear some more about policy, and they give us a whole heap of excuses. We've been telling them that, look, we know that Biden's not going to run, so can you tell us who is going to run so that people have time to get used to that person? And they didn't. They waited till the last possible minute. So these I think, are issues. And I think the significant thing which is in common with 2016 is Hillary Clinton, as I've always said, I really thought that she would have made a good president. And I like Hillary Clinton. I know a lot of people don't. I actually like her. However, and I think she was treated very unfairly. However, there was a lot of complaint from the Bernie bros that the process when it came to the primaries was unfair because, for example, the voters in Washington state in the primaries had their votes superseded by the superdelegates. Okay, there's been some complaint there. Democrats spent quite a lot of time talking about how unpopular Hillary Clinton was. Then all of a sudden she becomes a nominee and she's supposed to be a superstar. And what does she campaign on? I'm with her. What does that mean? What you have now is you have somebody who just a few weeks before the DNC and a few weeks before Biden dropped out, high-ranking Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Raskin and others had not really defended her when the question was, is she even going to be on the ticket? Then all of a sudden Biden gets pushed out or resigns or whatever you want to say, or pulls out, whatever you want to say. And then all of a sudden she's a superstar. If that's going to be the process, you have to at some point face the public. And I don't really think that she's done that very well. And that's why I think, and I've been saying this for a while, I think the momentum's on Trump's side at the moment. The polls are certainly showing that. The betting odds now, I mean, every day that I'm looking at it, the international betting odds are actually showing his price being lower. Every day I look, and a lower price means he's got a higher chance of winning the election. So, he's almost... you're only sort of 5 to 8 cents away from him having the same odds as pre-debate odds against Biden. That's a problem, and I think Democrats really, I think it's a little bit too late personally for them to do anything about it now, but I think the Democrats really do need to course correct and come back to the people and just listen to the people's complaints. Even if you think that their complaints are unreasonable, you have to listen to them and say, okay, well, this is what people are saying to us. Let's come back. And also the Republicans as well. I mean, I've been saying that to conservative parties. You can't just keep sitting there and saying, oh, healthcare, go get a better job. You can't just keep saying education, we don't care. Social services, that's your responsibility. You can't keep doing that if you're on the conservative side. But at the moment, they seem to be winning. And Jim, I'll hand it over to you on this. Just think, buddy, what you got to look forward to, that beautiful Southern belle of yours, MTG. Maybe she can have a cabinet position. You'll get to see more of her.
Jim,
good thing to know.
You'll answer along those lines, but kind of to what Shaquille was saying and everything, and I think Rick might have alluded to it. I definitely alluded to it earlier. What do you think about some of these demographics that do seem to be pulling away from Kamala? I mean, it's not like it's it's not a majority, but there is a growing amount of people, including in the African American male population, that are pulling against Kamala, and it does seem like the youth vote is either unenthusiastic or could possibly be pulling toward Trump as well. So what is your take on
I got to course correct there. One thing is, when Steve came on and said that she's not doing well with the black men, that's not true. What is true is she's not doing as well as Obama did. Now, that's two completely different messages. She's doing just fine with black men. Most black men are going to vote for Kamala. And but she is less than what Obama got. So, that is a concern, but can't say it as she's not doing well with black men. That's a false message. And the other thing is the youth. Youth are going to turn out in record numbers. They've registered in record numbers. And so this is good news for the Democrats. And it's not, you can't make it a false comparison between, they were saying Biden is too old, now we're saying Trump is too old. Trump froze on that stage in Pennsylvania. He had to be escorted off of it after 30 minutes of music. And so this was a medical glitch. This is something that is serious. It's not something that you say, okay, Biden's not walking as well as he used to, or something like that. And, his cognitive slips are not just slips, not just gaffes. They're signs of a cognitive decline. There's no question in my mind that J.D. Vance would become president at some point in the next 4 years if they elect the Trump-Vance ticket. And that's a scary thing because Vance is a cleverer, smarter Trump. Or at least he's gone into that direction. You never know because he was this way on that and now he's this way on that because, he wanted to get on a ticket. And so he's doing everything he can to say what Trump wants him to say. So who knows what we will really get the President Vance. But the other thing is Kamala is outraised a tremendous amount of money throughout. And after she got this real good bounce, yes, of course there was some, Trump gaining back down and there course correction on that. Of course, that always happens. She wasn't going to sustain that momentum forever. But what she did that Hillary Clinton didn't do is she is targeting these swing states. She's targeting Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, spending a great deal of time in Pennsylvania and buying airwaves, but she has the money that Trump does not. Trump just lashed out at his billionaire donors for not giving him enough money. So, these things are happening in real time, and the polls are always a bit lagging. And this was true. They had Hillary Clinton ahead, even after Comey came out and dropped this October surprise that derailed a lot of Clinton's chances. So, unless we get something like that happening, which I don't foresee happening, Kamala is going to do just fine in those swing states. And I do not think North Carolina is the decisive state. I do think that it's surprising that it's even in play. I think Pennsylvania is the one that's going to decide. And I think Kamala will pull Pennsylvania out. And I think she'll do it pretty well. It won't be a squeaker. It won't be a 1% win. I think she's going to win Pennsylvania decisively.
So let's look at the actual polls. Now, this is just one poll, but a Newsweek article has a YouGov poll where Harris is pulling 87% of the black vote versus 12% but that's just one poll. Another poll shows they're pulling only 78%, but black voters are only 13% of the electorate, which means that black men are only 6% of the electorate. So even if she does 10% worse, we're talking 0.5% of the overall electorate there. The young people are not, according to early voting returns, turning out in big numbers early. They're voters between 18 and 25 in the states that report ages of voters voting early. They're only 3.4% of voters. What else? If you look at
but they don't vote early.
So, well, I don't know, but I guess not. If you look at the 15 most recent polls, they all have Harris up. These are national polls as opposed to individual state polls. they all have Harris up between 1% and 4%. And more importantly, according to Carl Allen, who we had on last week, it's how close you get to 50%. Because if you get 50% of the vote, nobody can beat you because you have over half the votes. So, and in all of these most recent polls, she is at least 49 or 50%. It's different from the Hillary Clinton Trump election because at this point there were still 15% of voters undecided. This time around, it's 3%.
Let me just say a couple of things here, if I can. So, Jim, I'm sorry, I actually am not. I haven't seen the specific footage that you're talking about of him freezing up at a Pennsylvania rally. I've heard something about it. I just haven't seen it for myself, so I can't comment too much on that specifically. What I will say though is what you're talking about with it's going to be a JD Vance a presidency. This is exactly what Republicans said in 2020, right? That it's going to be a Harris presidency, and that hasn't happened. So, I think for me, I know that you think there's a difference. I appreciate that, but I think that it's not so much about whether you're right or wrong here. It's about how people see it, and I don't think people are seeing it that way. The other thing that I will say is, with the polls, if we know that some polls are wrong, some polls are right, some polls are better than others, we know all of that. So it's very hard to tell, and what some people are doing is they're taking the average of all the polls, and then they're taking the average amount that the polls were wrong by in the past. And, the world doesn't work that way, but what can you do, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. But I'll say this. When it comes to black voters, when they say that she's not doing as well, I don't think it's just about she's not doing as well as Obama. From what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't think she's doing as well as either Biden or Harris. And clearly, their internal polling is showing that, because their internal polling, she wouldn't be spending the time, and her surrogates wouldn't be spending the time trying to win those people if they didn't think that they had an issue. Now, her winning more than 50% of them isn't the issue here. It's whether or not she's lost support in those key demographics. And black men are only one of the demographics. We've got several others. And I think if I can just quickly use an example without taking up too much time, because I'm sure Jacoby wants to jump in on this. But many years ago, I was 25 or 26. I wanted to buy a Mercedes-Benz convertible. I went down to the dealership, and the guy was telling me all about the safety features. I'm like, dude, I'm 25 or 26 or whatever I was. I don't give a shit about the safety features. This is what I think the Democrats are doing wrong, is they're trying to sell something on terms that people aren't responding to. And in my view, when you go to men and say, oh, look, you've got to be mad enough to vote for her, that's pretty insulting to somebody who isn't not voting for her because she's a woman, but is not voting for her because, hey, I'm more worried about the economy, or I'm more worried about this, or I'm more worried about that. You've got to deal with what people are actually telling you, rather than just saying, "Well, you're going to man up."
Yeah. Okay, come on now. I'll yield to Jacoby because he's just come on. But this idea that Kamala is anti-man. She's just been pro-women, pro-choice. She's been pro-women who have been abused. She's been a prosecutor prosecuting violent offenses. So there's this nonsense, and this whole nonsense about black men have turned off. No. They're just not coming out in the record numbers, or the consistently extraordinarily high numbers. So she's still getting very high numbers. That's the thing to concentrate on. So you don't compare it to Biden, don't compare it to Obama. It's the total number of votes that she's going to get is still going to be substantial. And so all of this anti-male, she's not anti-male. She's pro-American citizen. And this is the thing that's different between her and Trump. Trump is always been about himself, not about the average American citizen. He could care less about the American.
Okay, you may well be correct, but with the polls being as close as what they are, and with things moving, like this, I'm saying what I think she would have to do in order to garner a bit more support. Now, fair enough, if you don't agree with me.
She's been on Howard Stern. She's been all
I
these.
know, but those things haven't worked, have they?
That's nonsense too. She's
Her
polls have declined. Her polls have declined after those interviews, and that's why I'm saying, in my opinion, these are the reasons why the polls
declined
declined.
after those interviews. Shaq, that's not true.
Hold on a second.
The polls have been
Hold on a
steady.
second, Jim. I think Jacoby wanted to jump in, and I was going to ask about the whole barbershop comments, because it was comments that Obama made that some people would think were more of a barbershop conversation and probably weren't intended for public consumption and all along those lines. But just wanting your take on this notion of her losing support among the African American male population.
So just to point out, she's not getting the record numbers as Jim points out, and that's exactly what's going on. Is that nobody was getting the record numbers that President Obama was getting. Also, that is normal because as Jim points out correctly, it's not as if she's not getting 80% of the vote already of the black men or the black population, and we're acting as if this 20% that most likely will stay home because they're not going to Trump. What's going on is they're considering staying home more so than actually voting for her. And that's where the battle is. And the barbershop comment, yeah, that wasn't for public consumption. However, it became for public consumption. And that's where the mistake was, because that's what has been said in the discussions that go on between black folk in the community, especially now. And all these things that Kamala Harris is doing actually is working, because there are people that are kind of hesitant based on the fact that, yes, she's a woman. Culturally speaking, that happens. There is a gender gap that's across every culture in America right now, that, yes, women aren't seen as this. They can't be. There is that stereotype. And then if you throw in the stereotypes around black women, that falls into play. From Mammy to Sapphire to all these things fall into play. And we cannot ignore the fact that they are there. We want to ignore them because we want to believe that we're past this point. But again, civil rights happened 70 years ago, and there are still people alive today that still are fighting that same battle. So we cannot ignore and cannot think that that is gone. We're still talking about how women's rights have legitimately been taken away. So all these things are a reality. And so, yes, she has a problem with the male demographic for more than just being, that gender gap. And then add into the fact that she is graded on a different scale than Donald Trump. Mark, if you could, in the background, I have something that I want to show everybody.
Yeah, but then I had a quick question while you're pulling that up and everything. On that curve and all along those lines.
Real quick, Mark, because this helps reiterate my point real quick.
Okay.
This is just less than 20 seconds. Had anybody else, especially Joe Biden, said this, and everybody should get a good laugh. Listen to this. Tell me what this man is talking about. Tell me what the man is talking about.
Thank you, Tanya. Oh, beautiful. You look great. Thank you, darling. Also, we have many Azerasians in our room. We have.
What is an Azerasian? What is an Azerasian? The man says he doesn't use a teleprompter, rambles and rants and raves about not using a teleprompter, but he steadily uses one. What is an Azerasian? Had this been anybody else, we're going down the road of whatever. So this man, along with JD Vance and everything else, can lie, can say whatever they want to, but Kamala Harris is graded on a particular curve that she has to walk the straight and narrow. Not only as a Democrat candidate, but as a female. And that's the tough part. And that's
I want to hear Shaquille's response. I was going to add some other context to this and everything. Do you think that, hold on a second, because I was going to answer the question, but then I want to hear your answer, Shaquille. But do you think that part of what's going on, because you mentioned some of these stereotypes like the Sapphire and the Mammy, but the one that has been out there more recently, and I sometimes think that people are pushing Kamala into this kind of situation which is actually ironic because she's attacked for being too giggly and everything. But then the other kind of stereotype is the angry black woman. So do you think that people are trying to push her toward that stereotype?
All right.
Well, let me respond after
all this
Steve is waiting.
is freaking speculation. Let's talk about the actual poll numbers, which paint a clear picture. When Kennedy dropped out, RFK Jr. At the end of August, Trump had 5% of voters. Trump got 1% more of those Kennedy voters than Harris did. So her lead in the polls dropped by 1%, and it stayed flat since then. So Harris, her support peaked a couple weeks ago at 48.6% in the surveys. Now it's dropped to 48.5, which means almost nothing. It stayed stable. It's like she's gotten all the voters who are gettable, but she hasn't been able to peel any voters away from Trump. And that's the deal. That nothing's budged in a month. And we'll see if Trump's obviously mentally glitchy behavior, like you can ignore like one mispronounced word, but will voters ignore 39 minutes of swaying and dancing on stage in the middle of a rally? It's weird. Maybe things will stay exactly the way they are because that's what it looks pretty stable at this point.
Yeah, Trump could shoot somebody and get away with it. He wouldn't lose any votes if he shot somebody.
So when I've been saying that Dems, this is the fault of the Dems, it's a problem of their own making because they've waited too long to be able to address this. And I stand by that. I think but nobody knows what's going to happen in the election, right? None of us have a crystal ball. I think that you guys are dismissing the reasons why she isn't improving, or you're saying that it's not happening. She's doing really well in the polls. She is going to win. But, if the election happens and she doesn't win, well, then you'd have to assess what went wrong.
Saying that.
But,
I think it's
okay, but that's what it sounds like to me. But I will just say that you guys, because you dropped the ball so much, don't understand how important this voting block is, the Azarations. It's a very important block that will turn the election. And Jim, with due respect, I don't know what you're talking about, that Kamala Harris is a great defender of women. Donald Trump said he was going to protect women too, right? Don't you trust him? Come on now.
Shaquille, along the same line, get back serious and everything, because Kim would bring this up if she was here and everything. But is there going to be any pushback towards this kind of militia mentality that is out there as well? Because apparently there's some armed militia that are, quote unquote, hunting FEMA workers in hurricane ravaged North Carolina, according to some reports that came out yesterday and everything. And there are things that are saying that FEMA is going to be pausing some aid operation, and there was a man arrested over an alleged violent threat there.
These are not militias; they're militants.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even understand the mentality of it. Let's just for the purpose, I know you guys are going to disagree with this, but just for the example, let's say that FEMA workers really have done all the things that they've been accused of, right? Just for the example, let's just say that's the case. It's not the fault of the FEMA workers, is it? It's the fault of the management. So why would you go after them? That's like going into Walmart and complaining about the prices to the checkout girl who's serving you. What are you taking it on her for? Right. So I don't understand this. And I think it's a real issue amongst these ultra, what do you want to call them? Ultra nationalists, they're the sort of right-wing nut jobs. But that dude in Coachella, the more that I hear about him, the more that it sounds like he was just one of those, anti-government anarchist type madmen, right? And I don't think that belongs to any political party. But if it was going to belong to a party, if you had to assign one, that's probably on the Republican side. But it's the people on the Republican side they want to distance themselves from, right? Because there's crazy everywhere.
Hold on. I think what you're wait, real quick, Mark. I think what you just did was kind of whitewash the problem. How is it?
I'm not you guys have got crazies on your side.
So you can understand what I'm saying. How is it that the heads of a party legitimately can tell their followers and tell people that these people are the scum of the earth
Yep.
that they are legitimately going into and taking people's land away. They are actually harming people.
Yep.
How are you going to say that, oh, well, let's say if the FEMA workers were doing this, then it should be part of the management? Well, we know the FEMA workers aren't doing this. So
Right.
we know that it's not part of the management. So we know somebody is given the idea in these individuals' heads.
Exactly.
Why can't we blame the individual who's actually creating, as Rick's word that he put out there, the stochastic terrorism? Why can't we point to the individual that's causing this? Why must we gloss over the fact that
I'm not defending. I'm not.
are hearing this stuff from their
Of course you're not
leader?
defending it, Jack.
No, hold on a
Why-
second.
I'm not defending. Hang on. I'm not defending them. You've totally missed the point I'm making. I'm saying
No, he heard you.
that those individuals that are doing this, regardless of who's motivating
Where
them,
do they?
it doesn't make sense
but
for
that's
them
the
to be doing it.
problem.
I'm on your
No, no,
look.
no,
I'm
no.
on your side, and
No,
you're not
no,
happy
Jack,
about the
you're
way I've worded it. My
Jack,
goodness,
Shaq,
You're missing Jacoby's point.
I
Jacoby's
did hear
point-
his point.
Yeah, the point is well, don't say that he's missing your point, because the point is that Trump is riling these people up. They're only getting a certain message, and they're getting that message being repeated. And so this is the type of thing that represents the true and present danger to American society. And it starts with Trump.
No, I
If
get
we
what you're
didn't
saying,
have
but
this,
hold on a second. Hold
it's
on a
like
second,
tourists-
Jim, because I got a
tourists
question for
around the
everybody.
Capitol. Come on.
No,
They
I want to
didn't
make a
storm the
parallel.
Capitol.
I want to make
They
a
were
parallel.
around
And I
up
want
to
to
do
see if
it.
I'm understanding
No, but
what I
this
think.
is
Hold
the
on a second. I think I hear what Shaquille is saying, but will we say the same thing
No, we all
about
agree with
Antifa?
Mark,
'Cause
Mark,
Antifa-
let me
hold
stop you
on,
right
listen.
there. Let me stop you right there, real quick. What Shaquille said is, it doesn't matter who motivates them. These people. It does matter what
look,
motivates them.
guys.
That's the
Hang on a
problem.
second, please.
If
Let me.
we It's for example,
respond to
if
you.
there's a wildfire in California, we want to find out what started that wildfire. If there is a tornado, we need to figure out where that tornado came from. If somebody broke into the house, okay, let's figure out where they broke into the house or who told them this house was open. We always figure out the root cause. If we're not looking at the root cause, then we're ignoring how to fix the problem. And
No, I
the
get what
root
you're saying, but I want to hear
cause
from Shaquille,
is
but,
where
the
the
parallel I
message
was
is
trying to
coming
Can I
from.
respond?
we have to look at the root cause of Antifa as well, because Antifa was definitely on the left.
Mark,
and there's some
nobody's
people trying to
arguing
figure out
that.
why Antifa
Mark,
was there.
Mark, what you're doing with that, nobody's arguing that.
These
Nobody's
are all
talking about
good
Antifa stands for anti-fascist. So those individuals, let's figure. No, that's what it stands for. You can laugh.
That's what it stands for. That's not how they act. Look, let me just jump in for
Shaq,
me, please.
You have
No,
to.
okay,
If we're
I
talking
understand.
about the root cause, we know where it's coming from. Why must we give a pass where it's coming from if we know where the problem is?
Don't you think you've said that enough for me to have a chance to respond to it now?
Respond.
Right? Look, guys, I was actually on your side on this, just not all the way right up to Trump. Now, look, we've just had show after show after show where you guys are blaming Trump for a lot of things. It's not that, look, at the end of the day, okay, we clearly have a difference of opinion about Trump and about what he's doing, okay? You guys see him in, let's say, a poor light. I don't see it that way. So trying to beat me over the head with, well, we've got to attribute the blame to Trump. Yeah, okay, but I'm not going to, right? I'm not going to. It's just like you guys are not going to give him. You guys are not going to give him credit in places where I think that he looks really good. It's a difference of opinion. So that's just all there is to it.
No,
But the core point that come on, guys, let me finish, please. I waited for you guys.
I want you to answer my
Jacoby, with due respect, it went from you to Jim and back to you, and then Mark. Let me just finish my response.
Let him finish his point.
I think we've spent an awful lot of time because I made the comment that even those people that believe it shouldn't be attacking FEMA workers. And that's not good enough. You're still going after me because you haven't said enough about Trump. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to go after Trump.
No, but Shaq, my question to you, we know that it's coming from Trump. There is a direct line.
Yeah,
there is no ifs, ands, or buts. We know there's a direct line.
I don't accept that.
No, but wait.
What do you mean no? What do you mean no? I'm telling you, I don't accept that. You can say I'm wrong. I don't accept that. That's all there is to it. I don't accept that.
And that's the problem with most of American citizens
But this is
voting for
this is
Trump.
the same thing with January 6th. I don't
It's a direct
accept
line.
that Donald Trump was responsible for what happened on January 6th.
Yeah, it's a
Partially
fundamental
responsible,
disagreement.
maybe. Partially responsible, maybe. But that's my view. Okay, I don't think I'm a horrible person. I just see it differently to you guys.
Yeah.
And
They wouldn't have
unfortunately,
been
as you said,
there
Jim, so does
after
half your
Trump.
country.
He riled them up, but
Exactly.
you're right. It's a matter of opinion, and that's why all these citizens are just like Jack, and we have to pay attention to this. They don't care what Trump does. They're still going to vote for him. This is a big problem. This is why he's got his base. He's never going to lose his base. You can't peel away these people from Trump. They're following a cult character, and they're absolutely going to vote for him. I'm not saying Schick is. I'm saying that they are, and I'm saying that there's also these people
I think
that say it doesn't matter what he does. I like, his bravado. I like he's going to talk, tough, and he's going to fire people, and I like that. And so, okay, there's that percentage of people out there. But what we have to appeal to is our better angels. This country was founded on ideals. And does Trump represent those ideals? Absolutely not. So Rick's got his hand up.
So
I'll go after Rick if I can.
all right. So all these policy things and appealing to this and what he did and if it turns out that his mental glitch is part of an actual thing where his people are canceling all these interviews with Trump, can they keep him hidden for the last 3 weeks? If it turns out that he really is mentally glitching,
So
frequently, that will possibly cost him 1 or 2% of the people who are voting for him.
Jim just answered that question. His base is stuck with it. Will stick with him through thick or thin. Will grade him on whatever he is past that point of judgment.
Fine, but he also needs some independence. His base is 40% of the population. The people who don't like him are 55%.
And that's the tough part because he hasn't ever reached above that number because those right now his campaign is running a campaign of fear. That's all they're doing right now in terms of their push of
I agree.
These individuals are coming across the border. Kamala Harris has blood on her hands. She was one who legitimately, I would blame her for the killing of this. They will let all these people in. That's a campaign of fear, and that's what they're saying that is actually working for them.
Well, let me make it like one thing. Let me just say one thing. Let me make a prediction that Trump's mental state may become the biggest issue of the next 3 weeks. It may not. He may rally and that, but it could be.
Shaquille.
Well, I think we're putting an awful lot on him, misspeaking and freezing up at one rally, although I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it's as bad as what you're describing. Did we just lose Jacoby? He's disappeared on me. Look, I just want to just come back on a couple of things. So, although you didn't, if I heard you correctly, Jim, you weren't calling me a cult follower, but
no, not at
look,
all.
I think the issue is, as was sort of touched on, was the big bravado and the this and the that. Look, there is, and even if I could talk about this from an Australian perspective and a British perspective, okay, there has been a feeling amongst many of us for a really long time that we're sick and tired of being lectured to about, although I'm not white except for in America, apparently I'm white in America, but nowhere else. People, this is your classification. I don't get it. I don't understand, Jim, but that's apparently what I am when I come to the States. So this idea that, you got white privilege and you got male privilege and you hate the LGBTQ community and the this and the that. And what happens is, I've never hated any of these people. I'm like, cool, whatever, right? It's never bothered me. But all of a sudden it's gotten so in our faces. And then when we say something about it, we're like, look, some of what you're proposing, putting in the school system, I've got a problem with this. Yeah, well, shut up, you're a bigot. It's that kind of thing. When Hillary Clinton came out with the deplorables comment, it's that sort of thing. And I think what he's done, maybe quite artfully, I actually think he did it accidentally, to be perfectly honest. I don't think he intended to. It just happened and it got momentum. What he's been able to do is he's tapped into those people that feel invisible, that feel like people are prioritizing things like the FEMA video I showed yesterday, I think most people look at that and go, what the hell are they talking about? Disaster equity? What are they talking about? And I think that it's that feeling amongst people where they don't have any other choices because the Democrats and the Labor parties of the world won't listen to them. They won't sit there and say, like Bill Maher's recently been saying, look, you know, the Democrats and the left have become the party of absolutely no common sense or something like that he said. That's what people are saying. And so given an alternative, given a viable alternative, especially someone that looks like he's got the bravado, that looks like, yeah, he's going to come out fighting and he's going to stand up to them and he's going to call them names and he's going to be a bully too. That's the appeal.
For that reason, I give you 2016. But it's 8 years later, the guy has clearly, he's not an occasional gaffe like a Biden gaffe. It's a consistent pattern at this point. And this glitch of 30 minutes when he was speaking and then couldn't speak, that is a sign of something more serious. And we can't do these false comparisons. Oh, Biden,
you've got to compare something to something, Jim. You've got to compare something to something.
No, you can't do false comparisons, which is saying, well, Biden was too old. Now you're saying Trump is too old. Well, Trump would be 82 at the end of his administration. He's clearly shown signs of cognitive dissonance.
But you've just finished telling us that Biden would have been, what, 86 or something at the end of his
Look, Shaq, I thought Biden was too old too. I thought America deserved better than Biden-Trump too. And there's no question I'm happy that Harris is the candidate. And the fact that it came late in the game, well, Biden is an Irish American. He's going to fight until the end. You know, it was very patriotic of him to step aside. He did not want to step aside. He wanted to fight Trump right down to the last.
I don't think it was patriotic. I think it was forced out. But let me just remind you.
You can't force him out. Shaq, you don't understand. You don't understand.
Okay. Don't bite my head off. That's what I think. Okay, don't bite my head off about it.
Doesn't make it true.
But hold on a second.
Okay, fine. It doesn't matter if it's true. That's what I think.
I'm going to take offense if you say otherwise. It was a patriotic act. That guy stepped away and he was a fighter. And he.
What do you want to do? Browbeat me into saying it was a patriotic act? I don't see it that way.
You to agree with me, but I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to shout. I have to get my words.
Okay, well, you have. You've told me now.
Just really quickly.
Not only that, because it really strikes at the core of what American means to me. And it strikes at the core because Biden wanted to fight, but when Nancy Pelosi took him aside and said you're going to cost us votes down ballot, he accepted that. And he said, okay, what's good for the Democratic Party, what's good for the country is for me to step aside. That was an act of patriotism. I was totally filled with pride when he stepped aside. Yes, it did make Harris a late entry, and it's been an uphill battle, but she has accomplished a tremendous amount. Voter registration among the youth is up, and the fundraising is through the roof. It's amazing how much fun.
Look, I'm halfway through a sentence, so if I could please finish it. If you guys remember sort of 18 months, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago around the midterms, and I said, unfortunately, the polls show that more than 70% of people in your country don't want to see a Biden-Trump rematch,
right?
Which means that that's probably what you're going to end up with. And that is essentially, although obviously Biden has dropped out, that was essentially the way the country was heading. And I think, again, that this is on both sides of politics. It is a major flaw of the political parties because what they tend to do, and we're seeing this all around the Western world, but what they tend to do is instead of being responsive to actually what the people want, they want to be able to differentiate themselves from each other. And so both sides give the people, the lesser of two evils. Both sides give the people something that the majority don't want. And that really, I think, weakens all of us and sends our country in the wrong direction. So I hope, regardless of what happens in this election, right, if Trump wins, he can't run again in 2028. If he doesn't win, he could run in 2028, heaven help us. But presumably he won't. So, I think it's time for our countries to start like looking at the future. What do we want? What kind of countries do we want? Where are the flaws? Do we have, in America, do you have crumbling infrastructure that needs more attention? Do you need to do something about healthcare? Do you need to do something about education? Get back to these core issues that people are worried about, and perhaps
Jack,
leave
a lot
the
of us do.
associations aside.
Jack, you got a lot of airtime. I think that a lot of us do just that. And it's true.
I'll talk about the politicians.
Politicians, they have to get the votes, and that they have found these strategies that are effective. And a lot of negative campaigning became effective. Karl Rove, wherever you are, tip of the hat to you. But this has made us a very negative campaign season. Every campaign season, it's very negative. It's all about how terrible this person is. But I've never seen in my lifetime anyone like Trump. And he cannot tell me that he did not call those people on January 6th to get there, and he didn't rile them up. So this is what we want in a leader? No. What we want is someone who leads the country in a better direction. And we know what Trump was doing. In 2016, I give you everything you said. I understand why they voted for him in 2016. But now you can fool some of the people all of the time. But I can't believe you can fool the majority of the people all of the time. They're caught on to this con artist. He's a con man. He always has been. And so he conned a lot of people into believing him. Trump University, Trump Organization, everything he's touched is fraud.
You could have got that degree from Trump University. What's the problem?
34 felony accounts, convicted. Yes, they're in appeal, but he was convicted by a jury. The evidence was presented in a court of law. He was convicted. He's a convicted felon. Now, you're going to vote for a convicted felon? Shame on you.
Look,
you get what you vote for, but I want to interject, since how all of y'all got to talk a little bit, and I want to talk about the hurricane relief funds. We really need Congress to get into office and do their job like they're hired to do. If it were me, I would kick Mike Johnson out of the country for not doing their job for the people. This is not about campaigns. This is about being for the people. But if you want to help, you can donate directly to the funds in your state. In North Carolina, it would be www.nc.gov/donate. Yes, I have fact checked that because of Trump's chaos messages out there and the Trumpkins, or Republican Trump cult people spreading all the chaos about what's going on in the mountains, there were some serious threats to FEMA. And so that slowed FEMA from going in and doing their job, especially the frontliners who put their lives at jeopardy every day. So people quit spreading the rumors and chaos. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Get out there and work. Don't run your mouth, run your arms and legs, help donate money or help raise money. I will spread something that has scared me a little bit about, whether a leader will fund us. This is the truth.
And we'll force it down his throat. And we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time for all the forest fires that you have. It's not hard.
Be an offer you can't.
So leader threatened to take back any kind of disaster relief funds. And it's because if he doesn't like you, he will make sure you will not get the help, or your state will not get the help you need. And that scares me a little bit because Congress is on hold. Majority of the Republicans voted against, all the Republicans voted against the funding for FEMA. They're on hold until after the election. And so, if Trump gets into office, I hope he really, really likes your state, or your state voted for him, because you're not going to get the funding you need.
And Kimberly, I want to tell you something that just happened to me yesterday. I was depositing a check, and the bank, after they got to the check, the bank came out and said, do I want to donate to FEMA? Press this button. And so I did. And so people are stepping up. And, this was unprecedented. I've never been asked, I don't think, to donate to disaster relief by my bank.
Your grocery stores are doing it now. The grocery stores are asking, do you want to round up to donate to the hurricane? I trust my grocery stores. I trust the states who are collecting money. I probably trust the banks. But anyone else, I probably would not. The direct zones where people are actually taking provisions in, if I'm walking up there and giving them money, yes. But be very careful with the other ones. But this in particular
And we'll force it
bothers
down
me.
his throat. And we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time for all the forest fires that you have.
I mean,
Come
we know
on.
he runs his mouth a lot, but I just have to wonder, is this why Congress is waiting until after the election to provide the additional FEMA we need? And Mike Johnson did an out-and-out lie the other day on an interview. He said that they only used 2% of the funds that they had given them previously, but I have it on good authority that they have used more than 50% of it. And if we get hit with another hurricane, it's just going to be devastating. But people quit spreading the chaos about the workers and about people going up there taking the land for, whatever. We're not. Nobody is. Okay, we are there to help, but unfortunately, Trump knows the mindset of some of these people up in the mountains, and they're going to go get their guns, and they're not going to let you come and help them because they're in fear right now because they believe every word Trump says, and they worship every word he says. And I think we just need
can anybody else say anything,
calm and be calm and respectful to the people who are actually working. I also want to debunk another rumor that was going around that someone sent me, and they said that Harris's husband owned, full interest in some of the mines up in the mountains. I printed a list, if you want to go see it, but I printed a list of the mines up there and who owns them. His name's not on any of them. Actually, there are only a few mines up there. There have been a few applications for lithium mines that were going to get approved, but that's going to have to go on hold until the cleanup. But they're not up there taking away your land for that. They might buy it from you, but they're not taking it away. Just to debunk some of the fear. We have to stop the fear.
Yeah, I think
we have 2 minutes left. Yeah. I think, Shaq, you got to say a lot through this show promoting Trump, and I think these two got to say a lot.
Okay, so the answer is no. I can't respond to it. Okay, no problem.
I'm done for the day.
The audience knows that you've already done that.
We'll force it down his throat, and we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time for all the forest fires that you have. It's not hard to do.
Offensive.
You'd rather play that for a third time than to let me speak.
Wants us to have is somebody to cut our funding.
You'd rather play that for a third time than to let me speak. That's really incredible.
It's time to go, Shaq.
Well done, Kimberly. Did it again. Well done.
We have 2 minutes. Let him have half.
All right, have your podium.
Go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Are you part of the cult?
So, are you going to let me speak or not?
Go for it, Shaquille.
Do it.
So it seems it's rather strange to me that you're going to come out and say, "Don't run your mouth" at the same time as you have a crack at Trump, right? If you want to take the politics out of this issue, can you let me speak? You had your go.
And we'll force it down his throat, and we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time for all the forest fires that you have.
I don't think that makes you look good. Doing that, Kimberly, doesn't make you look good. That makes you look ridiculous.
No,
Let me
it
speak.
makes you look ridiculous because
it makes me look ridiculous for you to be talking over me and playing a video over the top of me.
You're making a joke out of yourself. You really
You're not even letting me speak. You're playing videos over the top of me. Are you serious? After the way you treated me on Friday, you're doing this now?
You're trying to make a crack at me.
I'm not having a crack at you. I want to address the issues that you've brought up about the things that Trump is saying. And if you're going to do this, it's just silly. It's just silly.
Trump not funding.
You won't let me address a thing because you're talking over me and then playing a video for the fourth time in order to stop me from speaking when you've warned me there's only 2 minutes left to go.
Hey,
this is ridiculous, Kimberly. Kimberly, seriously, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
It's not
you just played again.
Not playing again. We've heard the video 4 times now. We don't need to hear it 5 times. So, Shaquille, if you will, just go ahead and say whatever you got to say.
You took me backstage.
No, I didn't. Shaquille,
No, when you got 20 seconds left, there's no way I'm going to be able to respond. Kimberly, this sort of behaviour, the audience sees it. They really do. Stop it. You don't like Trump, and stop it, man. Like, this is ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. Debunk it.
How could I? How could I after what you've
He's
just
not
done?
going to fund disaster relief. So
You know what, Kimberly? I'll respond to it on a show when you're not there if you're not going to let me respond to it on this one.
I'm
But we're at
letting
the
you
hour, right? We
respond.
don't have the time. So well done. You silenced me again. Well done.
1 minute. Because
Well done.
I'm
No, we're over time. You made a big deal about that last week when Sasha yielded his time to me. You ended the show. So let's just be consistent. We'll end the show. I'll talk about it tomorrow,
You
Mark.
talk more about not being able to talk. You have 1 minute. I bought us 1 minute. Go.
I don't want the extra minute where you're going to go overtime as it interferes with other shows, which you constantly are having a go at us over. I'm happy to wait until tomorrow because I'm not going to rush what I want to say. Back to you, Mark.
All right, well, that ends this particular show. We'll get ready to get on out of here.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Well done, Kimberly. Good to see you.
We have some other conversation around this. I didn't get to the thing around
Debunk it,
either.
Zap. Show me why.
I will. No problems.
Yeah, debunk it.